can start with you. And something that we were talking about earlier is that Line today is available across a lot of different channels, and you've got your customers across all of these channels. Now, when it comes to marketing, what are the marketing channels that you're focusing on, and what's giving you the best returns from a marketing standpoint?
Well, to me, there are different channels in Line. We classify into two. One is the paid one, and two is actually the own one. The paid one is actually through social media like Facebook, Instagram, and then we have like Google Ads, and then we have like Universal Ads campaign from Google's. But we also have own media plan, which is through Line ads. We have OA, that when you open Line, you see Starbucks or Alfamart voucher. We use that too, and then we also have banner when you open the chat and you see the ads there too. And it depends on the use case, which one is the best. If you are targeting, we segmentize our users based on whether they are heavy Line users or not. If you are targeting for non-Line users, then the best is the paid one. But if you are targeting a service for Line users, then we use the internal one. So for example, recently we launched a Line split bill. That's actually, you can do some splitting the bill to our app in the Line. Then we mostly promote it for Line users. Therefore, we heavily push in internal marketing.
And how do you tackle the challenge of, or do you use any third-party tools to track users across all of these channels? How are you creating that single user profile and understanding where these people are coming from at the end of the day?
Yeah, when we look at a product perspective, right, the way we run a product is like a funnel, especially in marketing, like it's marketing app funnel. It's pretty unique. Because let's say you are launching an installation, right? It's part of the friction in the user's acquisition itself, right? The first thing that users is you see the ads. That's the first step. And after that, they click the ads. And then after that, they install the apps. And finally, they use the app, like open the app, and in my case is reading the news, something like that. And it's always like top down, and it's always reducing the number time by time. And because we are using different channels and it's very complicated, like for example, if you are using Google using their own dashboard, and if you're using Facebook, they have their own dashboard. To me, it's very helpful to have a third party that compile any kind of marketing activities that you run. And Line Indonesia using Adjust, for example, and you can use either third party too, or even develop your own. That thing is actually helped me. Number one is to aggregate all the information, all the campaign that we have into one dashboard. And two is actually to share the information to all the stakeholders. Line is a very complex organization, I would say. For example, in Line today, the developer is in Indonesia and in Taiwan. The designer is in Korea and in Indonesia. The business is actually in Seoul, South Korea. And every single time they ask me, how's the run, how's the campaign of this? I used to just share that, but now I just give them the access to my third party, and then it helped me as a product owner, to communicate that information. You just do by yourself. So that's why I think it's very important to have a third party marketing tools to your business.
And talking about data, Igor, we know that Tokopedia has a lot of user data, and we know that you spend a lot of time analyzing the data and looking at trends. What's the one most bizarre trend that you've seen? Something you couldn't have guessed? Something that, one of the most unique trends that you've seen? Something that, data showed you and you could not have guessed it without looking at data?
Right. Unique data. Since Tokopedia is a marketplace, right? And one of our goal in user engagement is to make users do repeat purchase. So we know that the top categories is like income needs, electronic, beauty, fashion, etc. But does that products category also a recurring product categories? So recurring means people keep purchasing it once a month at least in the last 6 months. So we look deeper into the data, and the data said there's one niche category which is a recurring product. So we found out that cat food is actually a recurring product category in the top 10. So maybe some of the users in Tokopedia loyal because of cat food.
Interesting. Dhiraj, how about you? You're an analytics guy. What was your cat food data?
So we have, cross-channel, like, I mean, we have offline, online. So it's kind of a blend of multiple online, offline channels. But if you say one key factor would be maybe when we launched, a new product on the e-gift voucher kind of a thing, without any kind of marketing. I would not say it was bizarre, but rather it's like with zero marketing, I would say the demand shot up. Maybe because of the brand, like MVP gift voucher had a strong presence in the physical space. So suddenly, when you launch a product with with zero marketing, people suddenly took to it because of the brand presence. Maybe that's what I could say recently, because this happened only a month back, which is why it's on top of my mind.
So you say just having the brand recall of someone like MVP helped a new product just shoot up in adoption. Right. How about you, Dennis? What's the most surprising thing you've seen through data?
I suppose it probably didn't come in my time at Ghana, based on some past testing that we've run. Let's say, for example, during my time at a ride-hailing company, we did some testing to see how communication, how comms, how push notifications, how communications can support retention. So let's say, for example, one of the biggest issues is cancellation rates from drivers. Whenever you cancel, typically you're disappointed, you're in a rush, you need to get somewhere, there's a need there. So what we tested is, let's say comms A, which says, oh yeah, sorry, please book another ride, versus just book another ride. So something simple like changing in the content. What was expected, like the hypothesis that we ran with is that, oh yeah, if we, as a platform, we choose to apologize, then users may become more sympathetic, and a bit more understanding, I suppose. So we'd expect that the retention rate of this specific subset of users would be higher compared to the test cohort. In reality, not the case. The cohort that we didn't apply that sorry word to actually still remained with a high retention rate. For me, that makes no sense. But the data speaks for itself. We ran that test probably twice, with very significance levels, still the same result.
Interesting. Andy, how about you, Sarah? Most surprising data point you've seen recently?
Well, it's happening in Line Today, right? Line Today is article, right? Most of the time that people read the news, they read the title and then read the article and then they scroll down. However, in Line Today is unique, and I think generally Indonesian people, they read the title and they scroll down to read the comment first. The article is they don't read it, they won't bother. If the comment 1 or 2, they won't read the article. There's like term tubir, I'm not sure if you're familiar, it's TUBIR between netizens. So it's basically they see the article, they see comment. And for same article, for same unique users, they can click comment page up to 7 times. So to me as a product guy, I have to make sure that users can comment right and comment faster. We create API that generally by system featuring a best comment. And for our netizen, our users, if their comment is featured, for them is achievement unlock. And the comment in Line Today is very powerful that it become content itself. Sometimes they screenshot their comment from Line Today, hey, I was my comment in Line Today, and then they share Instagram stories. So it's unique. I don't think happening in other country. And it's not only they comment the article, they also, recently we launched Detective Conan in our channel video. The comment is a lot, it's only saying thank you, like thank you Mimin, thank you, good job, thank you, and so many thank you. And it's just a nature of Indonesia who love to engage with strangers. And it's I've been working in other countries before. It's a very unique stuff, and that's why it's very important feedback for me that as a product I can work something on that.
That is quite interesting. I would have never guessed that myself. All right, cool. Now, switching gears, Dhiraj, you, of course, have been looking at MAP's digital engagement for some time, and I think MAP, more than most other brands, has the unique challenge of a lot of offline data. So, we of course have the online pieces, but a huge offline presence. So, how do you deal with unifying this data across online and offline, and what have been the biggest challenges for you in doing that, and how have you solved them?
Okay, well, the contribution of like MAP is our first client, and the contribution of online to when you compare it with offline is very negligible even today for MAP. Having almost 2,300 stores, 70 plus cities. And as you mentioned, one of the big challenge we have in terms of unifying the customer, unifying the product, unifying the master of stores. So there are a lot of master data which actually calls for a unification. This is one area where we still need to improve, but I think some of the things what we are trying to do in that space is like bringing something called single sign-on, right? Across any of our app or any of our engagement channels, it's going to be like one user ID. It's like a Google sign-in or a Facebook sign-in, right? So something similar to that we are trying to bring, because one of the challenges with most of the applications which third-party applications etc. we use is they all ask for like one kind of a unique key. The CDP of most of the applications is still very nascent. So what we are trying to work around is one, of course, try to bring single sign-on. It's already on live for our offline channels. Across any of our concepts you go, it's like one single ID, one single wallet. And we're going to extend it very soon to our online channels as well. And second, we are also looking at potential CDP partners in terms of, it could be an algorithmic merging of profiles, it could be on a Wi-Fi network based, device based, or it could be email based, phone based. There are multiple ways, we can merge a profile, right? So similarly in terms of master data, we are enhancing our PIM because again, being a big time offline player, we don't have much of enriched content. If you take a Tokopedia or Dana, you have everything, images, everything you have ready, right? So, but MAP, have I would say 90% of products are still not online. So we are in progress. We are trying to bring some of the brands are like highly cooperative and they are onboarding. And we are also enhancing our PIM, the product information management system. So once with the CDP, the PIM and the SSO, it's going to be a seamless experience for the customer.
And as a follow-up to that, what are the key metrics that you define for your customer engagement measurement, considering that you don't have a lot of enriched data with you?
So engagement, again, depending on, as of now, if you take say a loyalty program, one of the important key metrics which we track, one is like penetration of members in stores, like out of say 100, what percentage is member sales, how many, so it actually, because there is a lot of operational things involved, it's not, because you're talking directly to the customer at the end, at the cashier, so operational issues, so you need to keep training, retraining, and at the same time give the value proposition to the customer, keep innovating, communicate. So from a loyalty perspective, acquisition, engagement rate, member sales, these are what we look at. E-commerce, I think pretty similar, or omnichannel. I would not say e-commerce because again we have buy online, pick up in store, return in store, all that, ship from store. So basically in that, it's similar, like what is MAU, DAU, GMV. So those are the key metrics which we track day on a day-in basis and act upon.
And how about you, Dennis? What are the key metrics that you're looking at on a day-to-day?
So I suppose it's similar to what most tech companies look at. So there's the MAU, DAU, transactions, GMV. Then there's daily registrations, depending on what your KPI is. For me, it's always MAU first, and every other KPI kind of contributes to that larger KPI.
And Andy, what's the key metric for you?
Well, from product perspective, we have so many KPI and metrics, right? But our majors like North Star metric is actually time spent, users time spent. The reason is that our business models is built under the ads. So we believe that two things, the more people spend the time in the app, the more they will likely recommend to others and the more they will install it. And two, from business perspective, the more people spend in our app, the more they will see the ads. So that's revenue for us.
And how does Tokopedia do it, Igor?
If Dennis is Dennis is for retention, maybe similar to Tokopedia from me as from marketing perspective, yeah. And he is from product perspective. So from marketing perspective, of course, yeah, retention like DAU, MAU, like cohort as well. And we also look at the delivery rate, impression, something like if we send to 100 users email, and then how many users actually receive to their inbox, not bounce, not spam. And then the next thing is engagement itself. How many open rate, click rate, and yeah, ultimately we look at the conversion, and it again depends on the business objective.
Got it. So you're looking very heavily on just those marketing metrics, whereas it looks like for you, Andy, it's all about how well the product's doing. All right, cool. Dennis, coming to you. Dana is of course in a very hot space right now. You've got a lot of competition and you've got a lot of quite literal wallet share that you're fighting for. So what's the one thing or top two things that you've been striving to do at Dana to win, to differentiate yourself from the two or three others that are all very prominent here?
So I suppose the first thing, like as everyone knows, the e-wallet space is very competitive. So it comes to that spend efficiency. How do we develop schemes and product improvements in our promo engine to spend more efficiently? How do we get them to do more transactions? How do we get them to do multiple use cases to increase retention? So that's, I suppose, one of the main things that I suppose is very important in the market right now. Apart from that, when you look outside of the cost perspective, then there's other things. What's the user experience? What's the use cases that you cover? Let's say, for example, a couple years ago in e-commerce space, digital goods was not really a thing. There's no bill pay. You didn't really have to worry about that. Whereas now, retaining your monthly active users is becoming even more important, I suppose. So let's say we have to fill the daily needs, right? So let's say digital goods like Bolsa, bill payment services, your electricity bills, things like that. Then you've got, I suppose that's when push notifications, reminders all come into play, right? How do you help, let's say, remind user A to pay their bill on time? Or how do you push them to pay on your platform by spending a little bit more? So I suppose for me that's what's most important, the customer experience, right? Use cases, customer experience, but having said that, given the competitive space, then it's definitely about cost as well.
And would you say that a lot of your customers are also customers of your competitors? Is there a lot of jumping around?
So honestly speaking, I think the answer to that would be yes. Like let's say for example, if you look at AppsFlyer, you compare the cross usage between Dana, between Ovo and Gojek as well, because they don't have their own kind of payments app. You will definitely see lots of cross usage. But the way I see it, it's all about how do we make sure that we provide the best experience. Look at the long game, not the short game. If you look at the short game, then you'll probably end up like one of our purple-looking competitors at the start of their lifetime, where the amount of money they spent on a transactional level was through the roof. It would arguably match or even be more than what e-commerce would spend on a transactional level.
And what would you say is that aha moment that when you know that this customer is a loyal Dana customer?
So I suppose when we looked at the numbers, it's all about a combination of use cases. It's not just offline payments. It's not just buying Bolsa. It's a combination, right? Let's say, for example, when we looked at it, you'd expect things like bill payment to have the highest customer retention. You'd expect those daily needs, right? So, but if you look at only at one category or one use case compared to two use cases, the retention actually increases pretty substantially. So the more the more needs you can fulfill, the more likely they are to stick to your platform. So for us, when we looked at it, it became about, let's say, digital goods category and the offline payments category. It wasn't really built online. Like, we've got online payment partners like Architects and Lazada, but that wasn't really the driver for retention. That was more of a nice to have. If you look at the e-commerce space, for me personally, I probably wouldn't transact e-commerce on a monthly basis. Like, I know some people buy groceries online, not really myself. But whereas, let's say buying wholesale, paying your bills, that's a need. Eating food is a need. So when you combine those two needs together, that's what provided at least better retention rates.
All right, and Igor, you are also in a highly competitive space. And what would you say is that aha moment for you when you know that this is a loyal Tokopedia customer?
Well, aha moment for every people can be different. Aha moment for Tokopedia is when you're looking for something to buy and you even don't know the name, but yeah, you can do photo and search right through photo, and then if you find in Tokopedia and then you can buy it through Tokopedia, that's the aha moment, right?
And has this changed? I know you've been at Tokopedia for 5 years?
Yeah, correct. 5
so
years.
over these 5 years, I think consumers have changed significantly.
Right.
Has that moment changed? Has your realization of what loyalty means changed?
I think it will be same. Not for that aha moment is still same for the users. But the trend is since there's a lot of promos happening, maybe they change the behavior of the users.
So promos has
Yeah.
changed that moment, or
Right.
when that moment comes, at least,
Yeah.
I guess. Then. Right. How about you, Dhiraj? For the brands that you look after, how do you define loyalty for, if you just take the retail industry?
So again, loyalty. I think one of the speakers earlier had a nice presentation explaining, the different metrics you track. Could be RFM, could be stickiness, re-engagement rate, re-engagement rate, etc. So again, it is different for different kinds of business. Like Igor mentioned, you can't expect somebody to buy a running shoe every day. So it could be once in 6 months, once in a year. But when you take food hall, which is a grocery concept, people buy almost every 2-3 days, a loyal customer. So loyalty score, if you take from pure grocery store customers, it's very high, because generally, like, you will find grocery stores in apartments or places like that where there is a lot of stickiness and repeat purchases. So it is not there's no single rule which can be defined, like for sports, for fashion, for lifestyle, for food and beverage, for grocery. There's no one particular metric. It's different for each of them.
And any suggestions on how to find that metric? What would you look at to try and arrive at that?
So some of the practices, what we do is, one, of course, we see that we personalize. One is like we do a lot of personalization through one, of course, MoEngage is one of our partners.
Waiting for that.
So where we try to kind of hyper personalize is what we do. Like somebody buys a sports shoe today, and we look at the pattern, and tomorrow he goes to food hall or he goes to a Starbucks, buys a coffee, because we cater to more than 200 plus brands. In this particular program, so what we do is we try to cross-sell, we try to do market basket analysis, we try to re-engage with the customer by kind of hyper-personalizing is what we do currently today, and also we try to optimize the time, when the customer is more engaged and responding to communications, or what channel does he prefer. And also we try to innovate, very soon we are launching something in gamification space in terms of, that's one thing which I think a lot of people are trying to do. Tokopedia has an egg, I guess, and Gojek has something else. So we are also coming out with some kind of a gamification strategy. We in fact had a AR game in Central Park Mall, which is a big success, where customers could walk around, give food to a line, and go to store, collect points, shop. So it was a big success with the Indonesian crowd. In fact, because people love games here, and gamification is really, really strong here in this market, and it's about getting the right strategy there. And we are working very hard on that space. We're coming out with a few things. we're coming out with something like auction, where people can bid for things with loyalty points. Like you can get a Tumi bag of 8 million, 8 juta, for maybe 100,000 points. So we are coming out with something of that in that space very soon. You will hear about it maybe in a couple of weeks.
Right. So it's a lot about trying new things and trying to create new experiences to get them towards loyalty, I guess.
And, sorry, just to add, one other thing is, like I mentioned, we recently launched e-gift vouchers, like Ultra voucher, somebody was talking about it, right? So something on that space. So it's a big product for MAB. It can be used online, offline, kind of a thing. So that's going to bring a lot of stickiness with the app, frankly speaking, I was pretty surprised with the numbers. I cannot quote the numbers here, but it's a very big product in terms of physical vouchers. So with e-voucher coming in and having seen it in different markets like Amazon gift cards or Flipkart gift cards and things like that, it's going to be really big.
And Andy, publishing and content, again, hugely competitive. I think at times you're also competing with the likes of Google because they've got their own news feeds and all of that. So how do you look at loyalty and how do you know when one of your readers is a loyal customer?
Two things. One is that we segmentize users based on the time spent, like I say. So we classify users who spend more than 1 hour as loyal customers. And then those who less than 20 minutes are not loyal customer, and between 20 and 1 hour is actually medium user. So that's how we treat it. And two, a couple percentage of people who read the news is actually from share. So those who actively sharing the news to other third-party platform like to WhatsApp, to Line, or to Facebook, that's we consider as loyal customers as well.
Interesting. And final question for me, and I'll start with you here, Igor. Considering that you've seen e-commerce over the last 5 years and you've seen changing trends, what is the one trend that you believe will catch on for the next 5 years? I think Dhiraj said gamification, something that he's been betting on. For you, what's going to be your bet for the next 5 years?
In terms of marketing, since we need to work closely with product team, so it will be, I can say it will be machine learning, because we need to make the strategy to be scalable and to be able to accommodate the rapid changing of the behavior, customer behavior and the market growth. I think that's
Machine learning is where you're going to be putting all your money. Cool. How about you, Andy? I know you're an AI person yourself. What's the key trend in engagement that you're going to see?
I think the market is getting crowded, and if you look at Indonesian users, right, by default they are not loyal, right? By default. Let me ask you a question. How many of you are using Gojek and Grab? And then how many using Dana, OVO, all those things, Agile, all this stuff. So in by default, users are not loyal. And it's pretty common in Indonesian market, right? Because they have an options and we have freedom to choose. It's not like China, the government limit only this player, right? So I think what I see, and I think most of companies are doing, is the personalizations and how to get personalized. It's different from different company strategy, but what I believe, and I personally believe, those who can survive in the market is those who can customize the offer they give to the users. And it's not easy, but I think everybody's heading that way. So I think personalization really matters.
How about you, Dennis?
I suppose I'd agree with a lot of that. Let's say all these giant tech companies, really what they're doing is collecting user data. With this user data, that's when personalization becomes even stronger. Not only personalization on, let's say, Dana's app, but across all platforms. You can see ads. And the market's kind of already started moving that way. If you think about programmatic marketing on the digital marketing side, that's already happening. Like you click something, like let's say I want to buy a shoe on Tokopedia, for example. Next thing you know, you'll probably see a Google ad that's showing me a shoe. So that's already starting, and I think that's just going to get better and better. Scarier from a consumer standpoint, but definitely more and more advanced from a tech standpoint.
Dhiraj, what's the trend you're going to see?
So from my perspective, it's going to be experience. Give something different to keep the customer engaged, because it's kind of a mass market now, a lot of competition. So the long-term game would be, I think, to have that stickiness and that loyalty with the customer, giving him or her a differentiated experience. I think through it could be machine learning, or it could be personalization, and that too with democratization of machine learning. Google, I think, has launched AutoML, for instance. Anybody, any Tom, Dick and Harry can deploy the machine learning models now. So you are not dependent on your data scientist or data analyst, etc. So with that coming in, business teams are going to start, hyper personalizing again and making it more relevant and engaging for the customer. I think that experience is what is going to define the next 5 years for us, in fact.
I want to add, because since you guys also mentioned about it. So what is true today might not be true tomorrow. So we need to keep create hypotheses, do testing and improve on it.
Yep, I could agree with that for myself too. All right, perfect. So maybe we'll open it up. Any questions for our amazing panelists?
Hi everybody, my name is Jefferson from Vivo. So Vivo basically is a sport management application. So basically right now the challenge is actually not only acquiring the users. I understand it actually a lot of startups, even the big tech startup, when you guys want to acquire a user, you still give an incentive to the users. And not to mention how do you actually retain the customer. So the basic question is until when it stops. Whether or not it could, the key question is whether or not the customer is so attached to your product so they cannot live without it, with or without incentivized, but when it will come in. So is there any strategy for you guys to make that things happening, which you can retain your users, we don't have to incentivize them, or us? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. The question is about incentives, yeah. Until when we need to give incentive? Okay, from Tokopedia, from user engagement perspective, we rarely give promo, because if people have the intent, we just need to still push a bit for them to finish the purchase, the payment, something like that, and that's the automation that we built. So the goal of it, people have a lot of user life cycle, so we need to put ourselves in their shoes. We need to think from customer perspective, how to give the best engagement and best experience for them, and then we pick when is the right time to send the message, and then no need to send to give promo, and then make them purchase.
So for me, what I do is all that testing, right? First of all, you have to look historically. Let's say you've been giving incentives for user A for X period of time. You have to get the data first. You have to look into the numbers. At some point, there'll be an inflection point where if you stop giving promos, then churn rate will reduce. You find that inflection point, you test it. Once you test it, you keep going, and then you test on, like, let's say a quarterly or monthly kind of basis to ensure that the test is correct and you're still seeing your results. That's really all I can say, because like we mentioned in the past, like, this market isn't really a loyal market. They know where the money's at, they'll switch. So all you can do is test, make sure that at least for a majority of users it still remains significant, and then keep pushing on from there, I suppose.
And Dhiraj, with the vouchers, aren't you giving an incentive and promos continually? How do you see that?
No, we are not into promotions per se. Like I said, what we focus on is the experience. And again, the segment we target is generally mid and mid-plus, upper kind of a segment, because the average basket value is close to 700,000 for us. So it's a different segment, it's a different ball game. So, but of course, definitely, I'm sure there will be promotion hunters. So we do campaigns from time to time, but again, it's very micro-segmented.
And with MAP Club, would you say it's using promos or using vouchers and converting that into loyalty in the long run as well?
So with even the loyalty part, what we are targeting is again to give a different experience. So again, it's still a nascent phase, the program, I would say. Though it was launched a couple of years ago, 2016, I would say. It's still evolving. And so what, as a future strategy, what we are looking at is we are trying to give a differentiated experience for the customer. Like you walk into a store, you're a gold tiered customer, you're going to get a VIP level treatment in the store, or even in online space, it could be a different kind of experience for you, both online and offline. So it could be even in an airport lounge or whatever it is. So we are looking at the experience part rather than a discount game.
Anybody else with any questions?
Hello, my name is Febri. I'm from Korea. I just want to ask a little question. So, before we talking about incentive, from your personal point of view, which one is better, paid ads or incentive? Because both of them have similar work. One is you pay platform or people to go to your app. The other is you pay people to, let's say, purchase or use your service.
So, if we could hear you well, so your question was paid ads or incentives?
Yes.
What's
Which
better?
one is better?
All right. Andy, do you do any incentives to it? Okay, so I'm gonna skip you. All right, you guys do both.
Yeah, we do both because in Tokopedia there are a lot of teams, so every team have different responsibility. My team is responsibility paid ads, so of course we need to make it more efficient. But the other team, business teams, is responsible to create a promo to give incentives to users. So we need to find a balance and collaborate, and not to make the burn rate very high. So yeah, that's the thing we need to maintain. But we still need to achieve the goals. So we still need paid ads marketing.
Yeah, I suppose I completely agree, right? We can't have one without the other. First of all, you need the paid ads. You need to drive the users onto your platform, right? And then sometimes what you need is also to get them to try the first step, the second step, the third step. That's when the incentives come in before you reach that point of loyalty and see a reduced churn rate. Because if you only get a user to transact once on your platform, for example, churn rate will be through the roof. You need to get them to try and get used to the product experience first.
Paid ads do a very good job of discovery and getting people to come to the platform. But incentives could be great to get them to make that first purchase, the first transaction or interaction that could lead to someone with a longer term lifetime with you. Right, cool. Anyone else? We probably have time for another one. Okay, we have time for two more.
My question is very simple. As we know, when we are moving from offline to online, we need to engage some promo. And some of our promo doesn't hit our target market. Either it caused by external people such as Just Tip or whatever. And it could be happen by our internal employees such as internal fraud and so on. So what I want to ask is, how do you prevent this thing, or how do you counteract with this kind of act?
I think, Dhiraj, I'll probably direct that to you. So, correct me if I'm wrong, so the question was, Kawan Lama is just going from offline to online, something that you have a lot of experience with. And they've used promos a lot, I understand, but a lot of times these promos are subject to fraud. They're subject to employees misusing it and such. So how do you counteract that? Right?
So from a strategy perspective, what we do is, suppose you have a product, it is uniformly priced for us across online, offline channels. There's no price differentiation just because it is online. So we don't do that. From a markdown perspective, it's the same price. But what we do on top of it is we do incentivization for first-time purchase, or it could be a voucher for first-time purchase. So those are the only things where we do. Otherwise, from a omni-channel strategy perspective, what we do is it should be seamless for the customer. He should not think twice. Oh, should I go online? Should I check if there is a discount online? No. As a strategy, what we see is He could walk into Grand Indonesia, go to a Lacoste store and buy a polo, or he could just log into mappymall.com and buy a Lacoste polo. It should be the same thing. Based on his convenience. Maybe he wants to order online, and on the way back from office he wants to get maybe some food at Domino's or whatever in GI. He stops there, collects his dress and goes home. So what again we try to do is don't differentiate online, offline. At least from our perspective, what we do is online, offline should be seamless. Customer should not think, okay, online is cheaper, offline is costlier. No, that's not what we target. It's the same, but from a customer lifecycle management, of course, you need to adopt your strategy or modify your strategy as per his life cycle. Maybe if somebody has you have just acquired somebody, the strategy what you adopt for him, or somebody who has bought 1 year back but has not engaged with you for the last 12 months or 6 months or 3 months, you will have different kind of promotional strategy to bring him back. It could be online or offline. So ideally, it should not be bifurcated as per me. If you have a voucher, it should be redeemable both online and offline. At the end of the day, what you want is get the customer, re-engage, or if it's a new customer, acquire him and make him purchase. So that's.
All right, so you basically say just don't have an added incentive to purchase on a single channel, and that should balance things out.
So many a time what happens is, offline is more of legacy system, bureaucratic system. I mean, very, very old, it's in the sense, it's difficult to change. You have your old POS, old ERP system. Online is all new, last couple of years, so you have a lot of flexibility, you have vouchers, online vouchers, etc. So at the end of the day, to kind of, bring synergy and to be competitive in the market and to give one unified experience for the customer, you need to be ready to get your hands dirty and work on this legacy systems. Be it,
so upgrade your systems.
You need to kind of have the seamless experience. Even if it's a legacy system, you need to work on it, you need to invest on it, you have to.
And maybe Igor, you might also have a perspective to this. How do you counteract fraud on Tokopedia when it comes to vouchers?
Fraud. When it comes to incentive, we split. We have some rules. So mostly promo incentive is given to foreign new users, right? So yeah, and we have a team dedicated for fraud prevention. So we have a lot of validation. Since it is online, and we keep the money if the transaction hasn't finished. So yeah, we validate from there, and then there's a lot of algorithm I don't know as well, but yeah, so we have put the minimum purchase, like logistic payment, etc., and yeah, there's a lot of things basically.
Right, so you just have to keep that they scared.
Right.
I suppose for me, simply put, invest in a good risk engine. So at Dana, what we have is a risk engine that not only prevents abuses based on business rules, but also prevents abuses based on IP device concentration, and all other kind of metrics like long lat data, things like that. Let's say, for example, all of a sudden you see a spike in a couple thousand users that all sign up from one long lat location. Probably not possible. So rules like this is what a risk engine can support. So at least, in short, that's what we do at Dana.
So yeah, I guess invest in the right technologies, and there's a technology out there for everything now, I guess. And I think there was one more question from you.
Several questions. I think we have touched a bit on the user segmentation. Also coming from Mas Andi, I think we touched a bit on blind user segmentation. So I think, I don't know how much that you can disclose, but I think it will be great if any of you, especially the e-commerce one, if you can really tell us the strategy that you, how you build the user segmentation on each of your industry. And then secondly, talking about cross-selling and upselling, what are the strategies that you use to cross-sell and upsell in your specific industry? We know that we can see based on the average basket value, and then we can also see from the historical transaction or the historical drop-off that you also said. But outside of that, what are the metrics that we can look? And do you integrate we can use like the internal channel, for example, CRM, etc., for everything. But do you also integrate cross-channel, for example, the paid marketing ones and also the free marketing ones? And then, or do you also integrate incentive ones? If so, then when do you stop? So, for example, for certain user segmentation, for the new users, you acquire and then you do this and you do that, a lot of touch points. But when are you stopping? And when do you give up? And then I think only that. I have one question, but I forgot. Only that.
Okay, so a lot of questions. Basically, you'd like to understand how they go about user segmentation and how they leverage that to cross and upsell. I think you've got the best man to answer that right here again.
About segmentation, maybe the simple segmentation can be new user, new buyer, active, and dormant buyer. So most of our budgets goes to new buyer for acquisition, and for active buyers, we mostly do from non-paid channels first, like push notifications and emails. And like I mentioned, how to do cross-sell. I mentioned about machine learning. We do that, already do that. We use machine learning to build a product recommendation engine. So we put that product recommendation into emails and push notification, and the result shows that click rate is higher, and also by click rate higher, then the conversion also higher.
I think I will answer the customer segmentation. I think the first thing that you have to do, you have to sit down with the management level to define what are the number one things that you will fight for, and could be one or two. Like in my case is time span, and then from that time span you put another metrics that also matters and trackable. In our case is number of people or retention, and then you put like XY, right? And then those who spend more, and then those who less spend, and then those who return at least once a day, right? And then those who not spend anything once a day. And that's the highest one is actually the one in the Y and the X, and the lowest is the one in the X part. Now here's the tricky part. Especially if you're in product, and especially if your business is complex from different party, you need to take a time to basically deep dive on that and have people sign in into that. And especially in product perspective, right? There are times like somebody just, hey, you have to do this, have you to do that. And always go back into that segmentation. I guess what I'm saying is that it doesn't have any impact on this segment. What's more important is focus on your core users. The rest is just noise. And once you be able to define the core users, then you could do anything on top of that. Those people will be dying if they don't use the app, something like that. So if you believe in Pareto, right, most of the 80% of the business are contributed by those 20%. So that's actually the rule of thumb. And it's not me who's saying that, it's mathematically proven, right? So I think focus on that. That's what you could do in terms of user segmentations. Your next question is whether or not you are doing paid apps or organic one. In line, we use both. We use Facebook, we use Google, we use Universal Ad Campaign from Google's. And we also use internal, we have like OA, we have like a banner and all the stuff. I think it's different on what kind of product that you are promoting. For example, if you are promoting a product that the target users is non-line users. Let's say line users is actually a high school student, right? And then those are 20 years old. If your product, let's say, targeting non-line users, those above 40 years old, let's say you are offering credit card, line for some reason releasing line credit card, then you're probably not promoting inside line because they are not part of our target market. So what you have to do, and then you use to paid marketing. And I think with the advance of technology, you can target based on their behavior, based on their age, based on where are they living. And to me, it's scary too, right? Once you turn on your phone, they know your data right away. And it's like double side of swords, right? It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. And with that advancement also come with cost. So it's a lot of cost and benefit in there. And again, there is no one solution that can fit all. So deep dive on the data and you see from that.
So I think I'll take on the cross-sell, upsell one. There are different ways you can adopt a cross-sell, upsell strategy. So in online space, like what Amazon does, like most likely item which you buy along with, you buy a top, and there's a high chance that you buy a jean with it, for instance. Or if it is in the offline channel, what we do currently is something like geofence-based campaigns. Like somebody buys in a Sogo department store in say Kota Casablanca Mall with a BCA card. So we immediately know that, okay, that customer has bought say a mixer or a grinder from Sogo with a BCA card. And suppose if there is a promotion in Starbucks, like BCA top up, you get one free drink. So we can have automated campaigns wherein the moment you get a customer who has bought for X rupaya with these attributes, you can immediately sell him something which is related to him, or it could be with, like I said, bank promotions, etc. And there is a high chance that he will convert, especially in terms of offline. What we have seen is F&B, there is a high chance of conversion along with your lifestyle purchase.
Great, thank you. I hope that gave you 3 unique perspectives. Cool, looks like that's all the time we have, and it's time to open the bar up too. So thank you all for taking the time out. Absolute pleasure talking to all of you, and thank you for sharing your thoughts, and thank you for being a brilliant audience. We've got networking going on for the next hour or so at least, so please stick around, have a drink, have some food, and yeah, let's talk to each other. They'll all be around here as well if you have any more questions. Thank you.